Okay, as I always say, if you see something, say something. And if you hear something, say something. This next story, I want to tell everybody a little bit of a trigger alert. We're going to talk about sexual assault. This is a 45-year-old man who was residing in a nursing home. He smothered an 80-year-old with a pillow during a rape at a nursing home where they both were residents. Earlier in the day, he had been heard saying, "I'm going to get me a woman tonight."
Mm.
Yeah, so it's Carol and Stacy here for Murder in the Morning. Dwayne Anthony Freeman, a 45-year-old man in Indiana, admitted to rape and murder of an 80-year-old woman at a nursing home where they both resided. During the forcible sexual assault, Freeman held a pillow over the woman's face. Court records reviewed by Law and Crime reveal that Marion County Magistrate Judge Peggy Ryan Hart has sentenced Freeman to 45 years in prison for this horrific attack and slaying of the woman. In May, the man pleaded guilty to 1 count of murder and 1 count of rape in connection with the woman's death. He was sentenced to an additional 30 years for the rape conviction to be served concurrently with the 45 year sentence for murder. According to the press release from the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, officers responded to an emergency call at the Homestead Health Center at about 5:30 a.m. So this was in the morning on February 2nd of 22. The call reported a deceased adult female, later identified as this woman. Upon arrival, first responders discovered a woman in one of the residents' rooms who appeared to be deceased. They did determine the circumstances to be suspicious. Medical personnel pronounced the woman dead at the scene. The homicide unit detectives investigated the incident and detained the man, later identified as Freeman. He was involved in this woman's death. And based on immediate evidence available, authorities determined that there was probable cause to classify her death as a homicide. Now, earlier in the day, a medical assistant conducting rounds at the facility noticed that there was a motorized scooter near this woman's room, and it's a vehicle that this woman did not own personally. This woman had limited speech and could not move independently. Upon entering the room, the assistant allegedly discovered that Dwayne Anthony Freeman, he was naked and soaked in alcohol lying on top of the dead woman.
This really bothers me.
It bothers me too. I've got I think she's 93-year-old mother-in-law who lives in assisted living, and I just, she doesn't lock her door. The story just makes me ill. So it sounds like, according to the lawsuit, Freeman smothered the woman and killed her. And it's believed that he had consumed a substantial amount of alcohol. Now, I guess I do see that there is a fair amount of drinking at nursing homes. And I don't know that for sure, but the one that my mother-in-law is in, it's assisted living. It's not a nursing home, but they have happy hour. I know you can have alcohol in your room. To me, it just almost sounds like it could turn into a frat party.
Well, in this facility, I don't know. I'd have to look it up. It was Homestead, and there are a lot of Homestead facilities around, so I don't know if it's some kind of chain. But it's interesting to me that a 45-year-old and an 80-year-old are in the same area of a facility, because a 45-year-old seems like he would be in a rehabilitation center, and the 80-year-old seems like she could be in a nursing home setting.
Well, especially with limited speech and not being able to be ambulatory. She couldn't move on her own. This guy could.
And to an extent, because he had a scooter or something. He was able to get up and down and around on a motorized scooter and had enough mobility that he was able to commit this horrific crime.
And what's really disturbing here is before the attack, he was reportedly heard making disturbing statements to several female residents at the facility, expressing his intent to find a woman that night. So he was kind of alluding to the fact that he was going to get some. And I guess, aren't there any safeguards in place that if one of your residents is saying, "I'm going to get me a woman tonight,"
and that makes it sound like he was drinking then.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
Because most nursing facilities, with the amount of medication, each of the residents takes,
Right.
they don't frequently allow alcohol in the rooms because, say, you're in a nursing home and you're next to my room and you have an alcohol problem. I don't, so I have alcohol in my room. Nothing's to stop you from coming in my room and stealing my alcohol. So
Absolutely.
they just can't have it available. I love the idea that places do the happy hours and things like that. I think that's great. But I just can't imagine they just let you bring in your own booze and they're okay with that. It makes me think that somehow he got a hold of all the alcohol. I don't know. I can't put my brain around how he could have gotten really drunk in that type of facility.
Well, and
but somebody could have brought it to him and they didn't know it. Yeah.
Yeah. And somebody, a caretaker didn't say, hey, Mr. Freeman, maybe you should go back to your room and lie down. You've had enough. And I realize they're not babysitters, but they also do have, I guess, a responsibility to the residents to keep people safe. So if he's drunk and he's making these statements, at what point was there negligence that they should have said something, at least, hey, we need to keep an eye on this guy. Or maybe they're just so understaffed that there was nobody around.
They all are.
Yeah. And I've seen that with my mother-in-law's facility. We went and visited her and she was diagnosed with pneumonia. So she's on antibiotics. They came in and left her pills for her, but didn't watch her take them. So she's got memory issues. So her pills are her antibiotics that she needs to help get rid of her pneumonia sitting right there on the counter. She never took them.
I would be so angry.
Oh, yeah. But here's the thing. We were pissed. There was nobody around to bitch to. So that's how understaffed they are. There was nobody around. So it's like, we're mad, but we can't talk to anybody about it because there's nobody there. It was a weekend. They're understaffed. So it's a huge problem. And this story just shows the absolute worst possible scenario of being understaffed and possibly negligent. Who knows how many other cases out there might be like this.
And, it kind of depends, too, on the level of nursing facility. Is it a full nursing facility? Not easy for me to say. Or is it a assisted living? Is it independent living? That would be a factor as well. Mm-hmm. But it sounds like a nursing facility. If he was drinking, then yes, they should have been babysitting him and watching him all night.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're saying that this is a nursing home. So there should be somebody on staff 24/7 that probably is aware of this guy. And I'm guessing this probably wasn't the first time. I'm guessing this is not the only time he's ever been drunk and doing things he shouldn't have been doing. Usually people don't just wake up and go, today's the day, kids. I'm going off the rails.
Oh, it's just sick to me, Stacy.
It is sick.
You're consuming the Hidden Killers podcast.
Want more? Start binging on all of our true crime podcasts right now through Apple Podcasts and get an ad-free experience when you sign up to be a True Crime Today Premium Plus member exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast dropping soon.
Press subscribe now.